Some babies may only be able to stay awake for an hour and a half. But is this the case for all babies? Today's question of the day is, my 4-month-old can only manage 1.5 hours of awake time. Is this okay? Staying awake for an hour and a half at a time is generally the advice that we get when we've got a newborn baby. Once your baby becomes 3 to 4 months old, you should generally start to extend their awake times. But is it okay if they can only stay awake for an hour and a half? So the short answer to this is yes, it's totally fine if your baby can only have an hour and a half of awake time at 4 months old. And if your baby is sleeping really well during the day and really well at night time, then this is absolutely fine. But there are a couple of things that you might want to look out for if your 4-month-old is only staying awake in between naps for an hour and a half. The first thing that I would look out for is if your baby is only taking short cat naps through the day. If your baby is catnapping, it means that your baby is probably not tired enough to have a decent sleep. They're only awake for a short amount of time, and therefore they're only able to have a tiny little catch-up nap, but rather than have a longer 1-2 hour sleep. This can be a compounding problem if they're only having multiple cat naps throughout the day and they're not having at least one decent nap of the day. That's the first thing I would look out for. The second thing you can look out for is if your 4-month-old is waking more than 2 times overnight. This will generally mean that they're probably not tired enough because they've had loads of sleep through the day by not being awake for very long, and then they are waking up overnight. This can have a knock-on effect. If they are waking loads overnight, it can mean that they are genuinely tired during the day, so you can end up putting them down at that hour and a half mark. But it's a catch-22. You need to stretch out that daytime awake time so that they consolidate their night better, and then they'll have a decent sleep through the night, and then they won't end up needing to sleep as much during the day. So for a couple of days, it can be a little bit like you've almost changed time zones or changed from daylight savings to non-daylight savings. It can be a little bit disruptive to your baby for a couple of days if you are trying to stretch out their wake times, but once they have consolidated their night better, you'll find the daytime becomes a lot easier. A couple of tips on extending your daytime awake times is often babies at about an hour and a half will do a couple of yawns and that general, like we would get in the middle of the day, that general tired sort of feeling. Push through that. If you're trying to extend their wake time, take them on a new activity, take them outside, make sure you're chatting to them lots. Make sure that you're taking them to the window so that they can see that it's daytime. Just change activities often, and that will keep your baby stimulated and be able to push through to that new awake time that you're aiming for. I hope that answers your questions. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get loads more information just like this one.